The first season of The Last of Us was a huge achievement, capturing the feel of the video game without slavishly replicating it, and with compelling central performances from Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. It was always going to be a tough act to follow. The second game was extremely controversial, with its unlikable, revenge-fueled protagonists, so a faithful adaptation would have been very difficult to watch. As it is, some parts are excellent, others are very rushed, and its adherence to the game's structure means that the story is left half-finished. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. Still, episode 1 gets off to a strong start, reintroducing all the characters a few years on, whilst bringing in new ones. The town of Jackson seems much more stable than any of the settlements in the Walking Dead series, and it seems like it would be a decent place to live. Joel and Ellie's relationship is a lot more strained than in Season 1. Their bond was the biggest draw of the first season, so it's painful to see them in such a bad place, especially considering what happens after. Instead, we get to see Ellie's budding relationship with Dina, played by Isabela Merced. She was a bit of a bland character in the game, but here she is hugely charismatic. In a short space of time, we see how she bonds with both Joel and Ellie, and she quickly becomes an essential part of the cast. The scenes with Bella Ramsey are particularly good. The two actors have a great chemistry, which is a good thing as it's the main relationship of the show going forwards. The scene at the dance is virtually identical to the one in the game, and both versions work extremely well. Episode 2 is all building up to the gut punch scene of Abby killing Joel. Spoilers, by the way. It's a huge moment as it's really the catalyst for everything that follows. I'd already played the game, so it wasn't a surprise, but knowing where it's all heading makes everything in the episode feel horribly inevitable, with Abby slowly leading Joel to his eventual death. Kaitlyn Diva as Abby only has a minor role this season, but she definitely makes an impact. She nails Abby's coldness and fury, despite not being as jacked as the game character. She plays it perfectly, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of her next season. And Bella Ramsey's performance when she witnesses Joel's death is absolutely heartbreaking. It's hard to watch as it feels so real. This alone would be enough to make it the standout episode of the season, but along with that, we also get the biggest action sequence. Jackson is attacked by a massive horde of cordyceps zombies. It's a huge sequence with hundreds of people on screen, and the scene where Tommy fights a bloater single-handedly is a definite highlight and feels straight out of the game. There aren't that many action sequences in this show, but this is definitely one of the best ones. Episode 3 is much more subdued, allowing all the characters to grieve Joel's death and try to decide how to move forward. It's a much needed pause after the all-out action of part 2, and after the loss of the lead character, it's a way to refocus the show, so it's all about Ellie from here on in. Dina is a lot more proactive here than she was in the game. She doesn't just go along for Ellie's sake. We've already seen that she has a bond with Joel, so they feel much more like equal partners in this version. The ending is a bit rushed, skipping over their 800-mile journey to Seattle in a matter of minutes. They could have maybe expanded it a bit, but with only 7 episodes, I guess they just had to get the move on. Episode 4 feels the most like playing the game, as Ellie and Dina arrive in Seattle, and they explore various locations straight out of the game. The music store and theatre all feel spot on. We get the scene of Ellie singing Take On Me, which is a definite highlight, and there's a big action scene in the subway as well, so I can't really complain about that one. Episode 5 is where it all starts to go a bit wrong. It tries to cram in far too much. You've got Ellie and Dina attacked by stalkers in the warehouse, Jesse rescuing them, the encounter with the Seraphites in the park, Ellie making her way all through the hospital, and then brutally torturing Nora. It's way too much for one episode, and really needed more room for each scene to breathe. Ellie's transformation into the cold-hearted rage machine at the end is a bit abrupt. The writing of her character is very inconsistent. She feels like her old self when she's laughing and flirting with Dina, and then turns into a brutal killer at the drop of a hat. In the game, her character felt a lot more consistent throughout. Bella Ramsey does her best to make it work, but she's really let down by the writing. Episode 6 is a much needed break from the violence, giving us all the flashbacks to Joel and Ellie together that were spread throughout the original game. As such, it feels much more like Season 1 than any of the rest of the episodes. Pascal and Ramsey are still magic together, even as their relationship gets more complicated as he grows up and realises what he did to save her life. Their final scene together is the big emotional climax of the game, and it does work really well here, but it does leave you wondering how the show is going to work moving forwards. Now that they've already played that card, they won't have to replace it with something similar, but it probably won't be as good. Finally, we have episode 7, which is all the same problems as episode 5. Far too much crammed into one short episode. Ellie and Jesse bond just in time for his death. Spoilers, by the way. Ellie makes her way to the aquarium, where he's sidetracked by a brief visit to the Seraphite Island for a totally pointless scene where she immediately escapes and gets back on her journey like nothing happened. The whole season has had brief scenes of the WLF and the Seraphites scattered throughout. In the original game, it was much more in the background until the second half. So it was a bit of a shock when you realise this secret war was going on all the time. You can see the logic in bringing it forward. You've got great actors like Jeffrey Wright as Isaac, so you want to use them. But anyone who hasn't played the games is just going to be very confused, and it might work better if they just held off on that until Season 3. The aquarium scene is toned down a lot from the game. Here, Ellie basically kills Owen and Mel by accident, whereas in the game, it was pretty clear they were never getting out alive. I guess it's another way of making the character more sympathetic and less cold-blooded. But every time they do that, it just takes away more of what made the game so memorable. The ending reproduces the shock ending to this part of the game, as Ellie returns to the theatre to find Abby, who promptly shoots Jesse. It works fine in the game, as you can then immediately play through Abby's point of view and find out what led us to this point. In the show, it's just a massive cliffhanger, and Season 3 hasn't even been written yet, so we won't get to see it for at least another 2 years, by which point most people will have forgotten everything that happened in this season. I don't know what the answer is, to be honest. Maybe they could have gone with a different structure, told the story chronologically, and showed us what Ellie and Abby were doing on the same day, maybe in split screen or something. But that would have required twice as many episodes to work, and the pacing would have gone right down, so that wouldn't have been entirely satisfying either. Still, Abby's section does have some of the best parts of the game, so the next season should be worth watching when it finally appears. And with a long wait between seasons, the shift in lead character might not be as jarring as it would be otherwise. Change in the lead character yet again might be a bit off-putting for the general audience, but I think Kaitlyn Diva can pull it off. And it's telling a different kind of story. Abby's already got her vengeance, so her story will show how you move on from that and try and go forward, to contrast with Ellie's journey. So I'm cautiously looking forward to it whenever it may land. The showrunner has also said that he plans to make 4 seasons in total. I'm not sure how that would work, as Season 3 would surely be just Abby's story, and then the wrap-up with Abby and Ellie. I guess the whole epilogue section could be expanded into Season 4. There's not really enough plot there, but maybe they'll just do a mini-series. Well, thanks for watching. I guess I'll be covering Season 3 when it finally gets here in a couple of years. Until then, there's still plenty of other TV shows I'm looking forward to talking about on here, such as Sandman and Strange New Worlds. So press subscribe if you want to see my thoughts on those, and I'll see you next time.